My name is Carla Benitez. I have covered the civil and criminal courts at the Carver County Courthouse for 22 years, first for the Sentinel Ledger, now for their online successor. I have sat in a great many courtrooms, and I have learned, over 22 years, to notice the moment when the weight of a proceeding shifts, when the legal argument that everyone in the room expected to carry the day stops carrying it. I want to tell you about a proceeding I attended 6 weeks ago. I want to tell you about a man named Victor Aldridge. Victor Aldridge is 63 years old. He spent 21 years as a city engineer in the Carver County Public Works Department, managing the capital maintenance schedule for the county's secondary bridge infrastructure. He retired in 2019 with a satisfactory review, a small certificate of appreciation from the department, and a pension that covers his basic expenses. He lives in the Morrow Street neighborhood, where he has lived for 31 years. He has 2 adult daughters who live out of state. He attends Grace Temple on Sundays. In November of last year, Aldridge was named as a respondent in a civil liability action filed by Elmore Development Group, a private commercial developer. The complaint alleged that Aldridge, in his capacity as supervising engineer from 2009 to 2018, had negligently delayed the inspection and certification of the Fenwick Street underpass, a delay, the complaint alleged, that forced Elmore to revise its development timeline, incurring costs the company valued at approximately $2.1 million. Elmore Development Group was represented by Harmon & Fitch LLP. The lead attorney for Elmore at the initial hearing was a partner named Gerald Mast, who has a practice that focuses on infrastructure and municipal liability. He is competent and thorough. The problem, which became apparent over the course of the proceedings, is that the complaint against Aldridge had been filed without a comprehensive review of the public engineering record. I want to explain what I mean by that. In the Carver County Public Works Archive, accessible to any member of the public who files a standard records request, there is a file labeled Fenwick Street Underpass, Capital Maintenance Review 2009 to 2018. This file runs to approximately 412 pages. It contains, among other things, every inspection report filed during the relevant period, every request for materials authorization, every consultant sign-off, and a substantial subfile labeled Pending Federal Standard Review 2012-2014, which documents a federal bridge safety standard revision that was in progress during those years and which placed a regulatory hold on final certification for any underpass in the revision scope. The Fenwick Street underpass was in the revision scope. The hold lasted 26 months. It was not initiated by Aldridge. It was not within Aldridge's authority to lift. He filed 6 status inquiries to the federal review body during the hold period. All 6 inquiries are in the file. I know this because I filed a records request and read the file. I know this because Judge Harriet Lorenz, at the November 14th hearing, asked Harmon & Fitch whether they had reviewed the full capital maintenance file prior to filing. The answer, which Mast delivered with the particular quality of a careful attorney working out in real time the implications of a question he had not expected, was that Elmore's counsel had relied on the summarized version of the maintenance record provided by Elmore's internal review team and had not independently reviewed the county archive. Judge Lorenz asked how long a full records request and review would have taken. Mast said, 3 to 5 business days. Judge Lorenz noted this in the record. She then asked Aldridge's attorney, Miriam Casado, a civil defense attorney in solo practice on Aldridge's behalf, to walk the court through the federal hold file. Casado had, in fact, already done this. She had the archive file tabbed and labeled. She had the 6 status inquiries flagged. She had the 26-month hold period calculated to the day. I have covered civil proceedings for 22 years. There is a specific quality to a courtroom in which a claim has been made against someone without adequate review of the available record, and that inadequacy becomes apparent in open session. It is not a dramatic quality. It is a quiet quality. The weight in the room changes in the way that weight changes when a structural question is settled, not with noise, but with the specific feeling of something no longer uncertain. Aldridge sat at the respondent's table in a dark blue suit that he had worn for his retirement ceremony in 2019. His daughter had told the court that in a character statement she submitted, he had his hands folded on the table. He had the expression of a man who has spent 8 months waiting for someone to read a file. Casado read the 6 status inquiries into the record. Each one was dated. Each one named the specific federal standard revision number. Each one requested a projected timeline for the hold's lifting. Judge Lorenz asked Mast whether Elmore's review team had been provided the federal hold file. Mast said he would need to review what had been provided to the internal review team. Judge Lorenz said she would expect that review to produce documentation. The hearing continued for another 40 minutes. I will not summarize the legal detail here because this is not a legal brief. What I will tell you is that by the end of the session, the trajectory of the proceeding was clear to every person in that room who had been paying attention. On December 3rd, Judge Lorenz granted Aldridge's motion for summary judgment on all 3 counts of the original complaint. The ruling runs to 19 pages. The operative section reads, in part, the record demonstrates affirmatively that the respondent fulfilled his obligations under the applicable maintenance protocols during the relevant period, and that the certification delay was the result of a federal regulatory hold for which the respondent bore no responsibility and over which he had no authority. No triable issue of material fact exists. Elmore's complaint was dismissed. The company will not recover its $2.1 million in revised development costs from Victor Aldridge. Elmore's internal review practices are not the subject of Judge Lorenz's ruling, and I will not speculate about what the company intends to do next. What I will tell you is what I observed in the courthouse corridor after the December 3rd hearing. Aldridge's daughter Phyllis had flown in from Portland. She was waiting in the corridor when he came out of courtroom 11. He is 63 and she is 34. And she hugged him in the way that people hug when something has been uncertain for 8 months and is no longer uncertain. He said, it was in the file. I filed 6 requests and it was all in the file. She said, I know, Dad. He said, someone read it. I have covered the courts for 22 years, and I have learned that the public record is reliable in a way that memory and testimony are not, because it does not revise itself, and because it is available to anyone who asks. Victor Aldridge spent 21 years filing accurate maintenance report and status inquiries and documentation of a federal hold that was not his to lift. The file was there. It waited 8 months for someone to request it, and then it spoke. The paragraph I wrote for the Sentinel Online ran at 700 words on a Thursday morning. The headline was, Judge dismisses liability suit against retired county engineer. Rules federal hold documented in public record. It ran on page A3. It was read by some people and not by others. I wanted to write the longer version,